now joined by Gordon Campbell, the Premier of British Columbia. Welcome to the summit, Gordon.
Great to be here, Sarah. Thank you.
What are you looking forward to over these next few days?
Well, I think the most important thing to look forward to is to actually find all of the common objectives we share and the common purpose we share. Particularly as you deal at the subnational level, I think we have actually done a very good job of building partnerships and alliances. In North America here, the Western Climate Initiative brings together 7 states, 4 provinces in Canada. In fact, in Canada, it's about 60% or between 60 and 70% of our gross domestic product are all involved in the Western Climate Initiative, which is developing a cap and trade system that will work. But I think you also learn new ideas. You discover from people what's working where they are, and you recognize that different parts of the world have different challenges and different ways that they may solve them. But we're all united by one common purpose, which is actually to start acting on climate change. Conferences are great, but action's a lot better. The pine beetle is really, I think, one of the most glaring examples of what climate change can do. For almost 10 years, we were waiting for a cold winter. The cold winter would have killed the pine beetle. The pine beetle then would stop killing our pine trees. Unfortunately, the cold winters never came. And so we estimate that by 2013, 80% of our pine forest will be dead. And I think it's a good example of why climate is so fundamental to what we all have to deal with as a challenge. There is an economic challenge when you lose 80% of your pine forest and you lose, the opportunity, the fiber supply for mills all through British Columbia. There's a social challenge as people and communities wonder if they're going to be dislocated, what's the future going to hold, etc. There's the natural challenge of our water systems, our water tables. A lot of people forget that a dead tree doesn't drink any water. A living tree drinks a lot of water. And so literally trillions and trillions of gallons of water will actually be back into the water tables, which lead to, in some cases, more regular floods, etc. So there's a whole series of challenges. And I think one of the things about climate change that's so critical is it's so big, it's hard for people to get a handle on it. And it's easy to say, well, let's not. And I think really what we have, one of our challenges in political leadership is to say, let's take this step and this step and this step. We'll surprise ourselves if we start taking the steps and start taking the action, but we face significant both social, economic, and environmental problems as a result of climate change.
Well, following on from your earlier comment, what do we do to energize the grassroots and get them acting, as you say, which is so key?
Well, I think there's 2 things. I think the grassroots, first of all, is pretty energized. I think there's a lot of people who care about it. And one of the challenges when we go through a year like we've just gone through economically is it's very easy to sort of move back and say, gee, we have to deal with our economy and then we'll deal with climate change. But here's what I think the core message is. Climate and dealing with climate change is the economy. It's the future of the economy in the world. Because if you don't deal with climate change, you're going to wipe out opportunities in the economy. So I think that we really have to make sure that we make that connection, and that's going to happen in thousands of different ways across, around the world. It will probably happen differently in Wyoming than it would in British Columbia, and differently in Nova Scotia in Canada than it would be in Nebraska, and different in the Congo than it will be in Nova Scotia. But those things, I think, are what we really have to sort of drive for and accomplish. So I think that people are looking for some leadership at the political level, but I think really the key to leadership is you got to lead yourself. You've got to do it yourself. How are you driving? What are you doing? What are you doing in your house? How long are your showers? Why are you taking them that long? Are you actually taking care of people with regard to that? How do we reduce commute times that some people spend, literally hours and hours of their day and therefore years of their life in a car or some vehicle commuting to and from? How do we actually avoid that? How do we move away from that so people can make choices that will work for them in their lives? So if we just think of it as a partnership between the individual and the institutions that are trying to, shape the responses to this, I think we have an opportunity to succeed. It is never about just what government does. We don't have to wait, you and I don't have to wait for government to decide we're going to act on this. We can act on it.
Thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks a lot. Good to talk to you.
With you.